Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great start to the week and welcome to those who are new here. My name's Annemarie. I hope you gain some benefit from today's topic, which is all about going higher. So let's unpack this a little bit by starting with a short meditation. So starting with a couple of gentle, even breaths deep down into your belly. Just allow your body to relax and your mind to become as calm and as quiet as possible. As usual, any thoughts that come to disturb your bit of peace, just let them come and let them go. Become aware of the thoughts you're creating and just let them go. Let them pass. Each time bringing yourself back to that silent space between each thought. Each time bringing yourself back to the present moment and your breathing. So just making sure that breath is going deep down into your belly, not getting stuck in your jaw or in your throat or in your shoulders or your chest. That just creates more anxiety. So just allow it to go all the way down to the bottom of your abdomen. It not only relaxes all the muscles of the body, it calms the mind, even if just for a few moments. And it is a calm mind that gives us the power to make rational, powerful choices for ourselves that will automatically benefit those around us. When I'm aware of myself as a breathing, loving being of light, a soul within this body, it reminds me that others are too. And that we've all just gotten lost. We've lost our inner compass. And we've gotten lost in the roles that we play each day. But giving myself permission to take a step back and to breathe and to reset myself enables me to check and change my own thought processes, to help me check and change old belief systems that no longer serve me, and to help me check and change any unresolved emotion that's been holding me back or holding me down in my life. And when I'm aware of these weaknesses, but my mind is calm, then I have the ability to change negative into positive, anger into love, fear into faith. So give yourself permission regularly throughout your day to put a full stop to doing every now and then throughout your day, and just allow yourself to breathe and to be. Allow yourself that space to check and change, to transform yourself, as to not be hostage to anyone else's weaknesses, but instead to uplift yourself, and simply by virtue of lifting yourself, lifting your own energy, the energy of the atmosphere goes higher. And others, whether they want to or not, will automatically benefit. Whether they realize it or not, it doesn't matter. For I'm doing it for me. And I'm simply sending it forward to whoever wants to catch that light and that love. But it starts with giving it to me. Om Shanti. So, going higher, what does that mean? For me, it really is about self-awareness. That the more I remember that I am a soul, that I am a being of love and of light, that I live within this body, but that I am not of this body, then I remember others are too, even if they forget and have gotten lost in their roles. Because that's what happens in life. We forget our spiritual truth, we forget our spiritual connection, and then we look to others to get that light, when we've forgotten that we are light ourselves. And so, often a tug of war happens. So the more I allow myself to apply a full stop to my thoughts, to my emotions, to my belief systems, the old belief systems, regularly throughout my day, to just take a breath and to just check where I'm at, and to really feel into whatever emotion I'm feeling at the time. And to work with that, because if I'm emotionally intelligent, I'm going to pick up on other people's emotions, and I'm not going to deliberately trigger them, but I'm going to do what I can to help them without throwing myself under the bus. But when I forget, then I might get caught up with someone else's lower frequency behaviors. And so my frequency lowers as well. So now we both got this tug of war going on at a lower frequency. It's like both getting caught in the mud, and there's no one there to rescue us because we're so caked on with the mud. Going higher means I stay out of the mud in my mind. Not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of practice, but it starts with changing one thought at a time. So when others behave or act from a lower frequency, that doesn't mean I have to. It just gives me the opportunity to see that lesson as, okay, here's a chance for me to strengthen my vibration, to raise my vibration. Rather than get caught up on the person's behavior, no matter how painful it might be, rather than get caught up on the person's behavior or get caught up on my own weaknesses because I might be reacting, let me focus on my beauty. Let me be aware of what's going on. Let me observe rather than absorb. So that allows me to step back, not to pull away, but to step back enough to just separate that energy so that there's two beings trying to communicate, not like this. it takes practice on both parts. And if one person doesn't want to, or isn't quite understanding of it, or believes they're already doing it, it can prove quite challenging. But let me not focus on the challenge. Let me be aware of the challenge, like I said earlier, but let me keep rising up, because that's my biggest challenge for all of us on a personal level and collectively. We are all being challenged to step up into our higher power, to release all the weaknesses of the ego mask, and to start flying again. It's like we've had our wings of enthusiasm cut off by forgetting who we are as souls. And so we've been playing for far too long in the mud, thinking it's someone else's fault, when I need to pull myself up. And the more I can pull myself up in my mind, the higher I will go. And the higher I will go, the less chance that others who act from a lower frequency are able to pull you down. If anything, you'll be able to pull them up. But you won't need to pull them up as in, I used to be, and I can still be, a chronic rescuer and people pleaser. So I don't mean pull up by rescuing them or helping, but it doesn't hurt to help someone up, providing I'm high. But I need to be honest with myself, because if I'm ignoring my own needs, if I'm compromising my own needs, if I'm trying to control others, if I'm conforming to others, I'm going to miss the mark, and I'm going to forget that I'm a soul. And again, I'm going to allow myself to get pulled down. Or if I'm having a really bad day, I might pull others down. So it goes both ways. But either way, if we get pulled down, I then spend the next however long working to just get back to that same level. So there's a lot of catch up. And when I've caught up, let me then really learn from that lesson. Let me not just pretend it didn't happen and go, oh, I'm fine now, because then I haven't really dealt with anything. And so when I'm being honest with myself, I can go, okay, I can see where I reacted not very nicely, or I can see how I behaved not very nicely over there. And let me look at my own weaknesses and let me focus on my strengths in order to release them. Let me just become aware of them without identifying with those weaknesses, without believing that I'm not enough. Even if others' behaviors are oppressive, I can still stay high. But it does take a lot of practice. So we have to be very gentle with ourselves, not make excuses for ourselves, and certainly not make excuses for others. That doesn't mean that it's my responsibility to keep them happy or to keep them accountable. However others act is on them. So if they act nicely simply because they want without looking for a return, without making it transactional, then they're going to get the return for that. Same with me. If I'm being kind from a generous heart, without having the expectation of a return, but simply to keep focusing on my health and my healing and my growth, and filling myself up and strengthening myself until I shine so bright. And the only way we can really shine bright is to really go through a lot of humbling experiences, a lot of painful experiences, because some of this stuff we need to look at is quite painful, which is why it is easier for people to stay in the lower frequency, because most people are staying in that lower frequency. Some are not, many actually, are not even aware that they're in that lower frequency. So there's a lot of fear, and we can eliminate that at least to a point out of our own life by not taking that fear, other people's fear, and fear comes through behavior. So if I'm afraid to move forward by looking at my own stuff, I might very well project it out at you and make you think that you're doing it, or I will see it really clearly in you, but I won't see it in myself. And so that's not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is being aware and working constantly on yourself. Not to beat yourself up, because that's something I can do still. I can still beat myself up chronically. But the more I practice these spiritual principles about not giving sorrow and not taking sorrow, the more I'm able to practice staying high. And yes, there's been some painful experiences to work through. That's life. Unfortunately, that's life in this part of the cycle. So let me accept that. Let me value everyone's and my own differences. And let me just keep taking baby steps forward. Let me be aware when and where I fell down. And let me own that, and let me then pick myself up, dust myself off, take a breath, and take another baby step. Rather than go, yep, okay, that's done, that's finished, I don't want to look at that anymore. And believing that we've finished it. We haven't even checked it, let alone changed it. We've just gone, okay, that's done. Why are you still hanging on to it? I'm fine. But we need to process, because somewhere along the line, it's going to pop up again. It has to. Because if I keep pushing down, it's like trying to fill a pressure cooker and closing it and just putting it on high steam and walking away for however long until it explodes, because that's what we do. So, tiny little baby steps. And give yourself that permission to stop, to breathe, to turn inward, to turn upward, and to simply remember that I am a soul. So I hope you got some benefit from that, and let's finish off with the meditation. So once again, taking a couple of gentle, even breaths. Deep down into your belly. Give yourself permission to be really gentle with yourself, loving with yourself, but yet firm enough to just make some gentle changes in this meditation. So taking once again your breath all the way down to your bottom of your belly. And breathe it out. Breathe out any anxiety, any fear, any anger. Every time you breathe in love, breathe in peace, breathe in harmony, breathe in tolerance. And every time you breathe out insecurity and self-doubt and blame and shame and anger. And simply focus on yourself as a tiny soul, a tiny point of light living in the middle of your forehead. Just focus on yourself as being energy, like a tiny star or a diamond. And in this state, if only for a few moments, you remember your beauty. You have a sense of familiar love, even if it feels a bit strange, because you've been so disconnected from yourself and from the source of all energy. So as you focus on yourself, just sense, imagine, think about whatever works for you. Sense those chains of weaknesses being cut away, like you are an air balloon and you're anchored to the ground. One by one, with every breath, see another one of those ropes being cut free. Ropes of limitations, ropes of ego, arrogance, superiority and inferiority. Ropes of having a scarcity mindset, not being enough, not having enough, not doing enough, just not enough. Cut that rope. Sense yourself, see yourself, feel yourself cutting that rope. And notice that you, as the air balloon is getting lighter, starting to take off a little bit, getting a little bit of height. And you're starting to like this process, even if it's painful to look at. But you're starting to like this process because you're starting to feel light and you're starting to be light. To cut off every string, every rope, every chain, whatever works for you, cut them loose. Cut loose all those attachments to people, places, and situations. Cut off those attachments to those old belief systems that hold you back in life or hold you down in life. Cut off those old emotions, those fearful emotions, those defense mechanisms that no longer work for you, that may have worked for you as a child, but no longer work for you as an adult. So cut that rope, let it go. Watch yourself go higher. If others choose to keep all their ropes on them, that's okay. Let them go. That's okay. That's their life. That's their choice. But if you want to fly high, if you want to keep going higher and not be affected, even if mud splashes on you, you'll still go high. Then cut that last rope. Cut that last rope of attachment, of habits, bad habits, destructive habits. Cut that rope of those compulsions where you have no willpower, you have no control over your own mind, over your own actions and reactions. Cut those ropes. And just watch yourself go higher. And watch that air balloon, you go higher and higher and higher. No one can pull you down. No one can weigh you down. Stay high in your mind. Stay high in your thoughts. Stay high in your actions. And you'll not only be in harmony with yourself and those around you, you will be protected from any darkness of the world. Om Shanti.